Lawn bowling is more than just a game. There's no talking on the green.
Genuine 1972 prices.
And nothing this soft. It's sticking right up them, right up them.
Welcome to Without Bias. Brought to you by Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Apia, dedicated specialists ready to help. Call 13 50 50. Apia, get set, go. Local legends wanted. A bowls green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me.
Yes, indeed. Of course, that Without Bias, a staple part of the sporting capital every Tuesday night. Of course, Brett Phillips in tonight. Normally, Sammy Hargraves are hosting this little half hour. Steve Glasson a little bit later on, Jackaroo legend and national coach, of course, from 2011 to the present day, 2021. But we are going to kick off tonight with Barrie Lester, current Jackaroo. He's up at beautiful Burleigh Heads. Barrie, great to have you on the show.
Thanks very much, Brett, and looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, we're going to discuss some of the bowls masterclasses that you've been holding with thanks to Apia right throughout the Australian Open. But before we get into the masterclass, Barrie, how did you find the Australian Open, and how nice was it to have the Festival of Bowls actually back on the national calendar?
It was great to see some familiar faces, really. It was a hard time not seeing the Victorians up there, so it was sort of modified to a certain extent in terms of numbers. And Andrew Howie, our tournament director, he was fantastic in making sure that the tournament was run really smoothly and combated all he could with that. But, it was great to have so many people from around Australia and New Zealand come and compete in it. And all the disciplines went really, really well. And the weather was nearly spot on. I think we had one day of rain. So, kudos to the 14 clubs that put their hands up to host the event. And it is really the best tournament in the world of bowls.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So semi-finalists in the singles and quarters in the fours. You must have been pretty happy with the performances overall.
Yeah, I had a bit of time leading up to the event on the green. There's quite a number of events I was playing in, and I must admit it's pretty rare for me, but I did make a bit of an agenda to do well, or as best I could in the singles discipline. It's sort of those that know me well. I love my team sport. I love being around the group, and I sort of focus more on the team side of things. But yeah, it was a bit of a goal of mine to try and do as well as I could in the singles, and really proud of the guys that I played with to go well in the fours as well. And anytime you get to play with Aaron Sheriff, it's a great experience, and we did quite well there.
No doubt. Barrie, how does sort of the rest of the year look? I mean, these are fascinating times we're in during this COVID period. No certainty as to what it all looks like going forward, but what else sort of is on the calendar for the rest of 2021?
Yeah, something sort of pretty upsetting happened recently, Brett. I got invited to arguably the most prestigious singles event in Australia, if not the world, and that's the Golden Nugget at Tweedheads Bowls Club. They only select 12 men and 12 women, and unfortunately that event has to be cancelled. Wayne Turley is the bowls coordinator there, puts a lot of time and effort into that actual tournament, and yeah, not to see that event go ahead, it's pretty crushing. But you've just got to keep planning and preparing as though a big event is coming up tomorrow or next week, and try and get to see that those events go ahead. But there has been a number of events Australia-wide cancelled. And I know between clubs, their volunteers and their staff, they're doing all they can to see that they can go ahead at some stage in the near future, so that those people can come back and enjoy their club's facilities and playing those events.
Okay, watch
so
this.
There is a fair bit coming up.
Yeah, no doubt. Watch this space on that one. I feel like it's a watch this space on everything to do with sport at the moment. Now, I mentioned off the top the masterclasses. So tell us a bit more about those and just how lucky and how the lucky students actually got involved.
Yeah, Apia have been a fantastic commercial partner of Bowls Australia for quite some time now, and they've really heavily invested in trying to help educate a lot of bowlers out there, or people that want to get involved in bowls, and just help educate them on all the benefits of the sport. We quite often talk about lawn bowls, the fact that it's outdoor. There's a lot of walking involved, it's social, really good physical and mental benefits to come to the sport of bowls. And Apia put together these 4 masterclasses in which I conducted and hosted, and there was a really good trade stand at Broadbeach Bowls Club this year at the Australian Open, where you basically went up to the Apia stand and you filled out a form, and you went into the draw to make these masterclasses. And we draw 15 names out, notify them that they were the recipient of the masterclass, and they went for about an hour and a half, 2 hours over 4 nights over the 2 weeks, and we had some really good times. It was great for me to meet new people and just share some experiences. And I narrowed it down to 10 key elements of the sport, and we went out in the green and we went to work on them.
So one of the key lessons, Barrie, that we've heard you speak about over the years is physical and mental strength. So we'll start with the mental side of things. I mean, how did you stay mentally sharp throughout a big tournament, a big shot or a big match, if you can give us some insight into that?
Yeah, I've personally, I like to, if I can, get some time by myself to, just revisit my goals and what my game plan is throughout a tournament. If a tournament goes for 2 weeks, if it's something written down, it's even better. Or it might be my notes in my phone, or I like to keep reminding myself personally of what my objective in the event is, and then narrow my actual technique or my game plan down to 2 or 3 things. And in the APM Masterclass, I broke down people's techniques and routines into three letters: PAD, prepare, approach, and deliver. Yep. And then that's the art of delivering the bowl. And then also, the mental challenges that come along with playing the game. So you'd be about to bowl a bowl, and there might be some noise come by, and how you combat dealing with some of that noise. So from a mental point of view, we did a little team building exercise where we talk around a group, and we try to listen to one another's stories and see how you manage to listen to someone's story while there's noise going around. Because unfortunately in sports like bowls, it's a bit like golf. The crowd has to be quiet and you're trying to concentrate in front of a couple of hundred people to deliver a bowl 30, 40 metres near a small object. And you need 2 things, either dead silent or loud all the time. And so we really try and help these players to deal with any time their concentration gets broken. And one of the little tactics I gave them was, if they can, maybe try reading a book in a loud environment, just to combat the noise around them and still get through reading that book. Even though it is noisy, you should be able to still concentrate enough to get through those pages. Yeah,
I mean, those nerves naturally sort of escalate, don't they? So, whether it's the crowd, as you mentioned, television, being on television, knowing that there's a bigger audience watching you far and wide, and trying to sort of combat that.
Yeah, and it's something, if it happens quite a lot, you can really hurt your game. You can really shift your whole mind and focus away. And with bowls being such a hand-eye coordinated sport, high concentration-driven sport, the moment your concentration is fractured, that can result in poor performance. And there are a few little methods to help people either going into a game. Bowls is a bit, I guess, it is very social, but at the time you want to go and actually compete and do well, you've actually got to switch your mind on to that level and not bring that social sort of mindset or social level concentration into the game. And you'll find 3 or 4 ends into a game that people are starting to build their concentration levels up, where there is tactics where they can get it to that level N1 and try and get off to a really good start. So we worked heavily on that stuff, and I think the people who attended the masterclasses really enjoyed that and help their mindset going into a game of bowls. And none of them, I'll be honest, said that they have any tactics going into a game, so it was great.
Barrie Lester with us, current Jackaroo, of course a weekly edition of Without Bias, brought to you by APA, proudly supporting Bowls Australia and Local Legends Wanted. Search bowls clubs near you. So just in terms of the physical attributes, Barrie, what are the most important of those to be at the top of your game physically?
Yeah, some key muscle groups. I was very fortunate before I moved up to Queensland. I had a scholarship at the Victorian Institute of Sport for many years, and we did a lot of training there and working on the certain muscle groups in certain areas that the body, I guess, gets overloaded. So that would be your glute area, your glute medius, your adductors, your ITB. I suffer from chronic ITB. So iliotibial band syndrome is very common with all the bending and all that. So we just asked, as many bowlers out there, that you don't need to necessarily go to the gym, but just some regular walking. Even if you can get up some stairs is good for you to work those muscle groups, and definitely your core, so any kind of core strengthening stuff. If you can maintain good flexibility and a little bit of strength work in those areas, that'll definitely help your game. Now, it might only be a few percent, but that might be the percentage that gets you over the line. And that's for bowlers at all level. You might be just a club level bowler in a lower division, or you might be someone that wants to play representative bowls. And if you can work on your body physically and strengthen some of those key areas, there's no doubt you will play better. It's funny too, Brett. Over the years, I've bowled with some really fit people, and they pulled up sore the next day because certain muscle groups have just like a adductor or part of the glute or somewhere in the thighs. It's getting overloaded after a few hours, and it pulls up sore because you haven't used it in that certain way. So the physical side is key, and we're fortunate at different events like the Australian Open or World Championships, we're playing for pretty much 11, 12 days straight, and you need to have those muscle groups strong.
No, it's a fascinating point. I mean, we've seen some sports over the years where you think, okay, you don't really need that those physical elements. But I was just thinking off the top of my head, like a sport like golf, we've seen a lot of the younger generation of golf coming through who are, and maybe Tiger sort of led the way in a sense of being, really ripped and really finely tuned athletes to, go out and play 18 holes of golf and just maybe that 1 or 2% edge that it can give you. So it's highly valuable. I mean, as I let you go, what would a typical week look like? I mean, what sort of hours are you putting into the physical side?
Well, at the moment, I actually just purchased some home gym equipment. So TheraBands, I've always got the TheraBands around, just doing some flexibility stuff. But just working on some squatting and some deadlifts and stuff like that in the garage, just with home equipment. And because of different states in isolation and that, I guess you can do a lot from home as well. But I'm working full time, sort of 5-6 days a week, and plenty of walking and stretching and recovery too is probably another big one. We've focused a lot in the high performance side of things with bowls the last few years. After a game of bowls, we'll go back and do hot and cold pools and then morning walks. So that would be sort of a standard week in terms of just keeping active. But at the moment, I'm competing on weekends because there isn't as many events on at the moment. So it's sort of trying to align my training in with my playing program.
Some great insights. Thank you, Barrie. Great to chat on with that bias tonight, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks very much, Brett.
Barrie Lester, current Jackaroo, to kick off this week's edition of Without Bias. After the break, we're going to chat to Steve Glasson, Jackaroos legend and national coach, up next.
From the wide outdoors to the great indoors, this is Without Bias. Brought to you by Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia. Local legends wanted. A bowls green is just up the road. Search bowls clubs near me.
It certainly is great to have Apia on board Without Bias. Great to catch up with Barrie Lester, current Jackaroo. We're going to catch up with Steve Glasson, Jackaroos legend, national coach. Like us here in Melbourne, he's in lockdown as well up in Sydney. It's not overly pleasant, Steve, but that's the cards we're being dealt at the moment. How are you travelling in lockdown?
Terrible. No. I make light of it, Brett. No, look, it is what it is, mate. We're, personally, I'm probably quite one of the fortunate ones. I'm working from home.
Yep.
It impacts your life. There's no doubt about that. But it's just one of those things. And I guess, the sooner we get through it, the better in the ideal world. And hopefully, I guess it sort of comes about from minority not doing the right thing and affecting for the majority. So hopefully those minority people can get their act together and we can, as one big united attack, a family per se, knock this over and get back to some sort of realm of normality, which will be very good. But it certainly impacts, my wife's off work, not earning, things like that. A couple of boys, my son's in the same boat. So... you've got to adjust your lifestyle a little bit accordingly to make sure that you manage things the right way and obviously, I guess manage your money quite well too because, you haven't got the same sort of income coming in. So there's all these little variations. But look, I'm very optimistic about the whole thing and looking forward to working through it. And I know we're all sort of doing the best we can to commit to the overall program, that is, staying at home. So, yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, well summed up. We're just going to get through it and control the controllables. That's all we can do at the moment. Steve, you resigned from the national coach role, which you've occupied for a good decade, at the start of 2021. I mean, do you miss the position?
Look, I do. I think it was part of my life, a massive part. In fact, it was, I used to often refer to it as a lifestyle rather than a job. So, Look, I definitely miss it. I miss the people. I miss the challenges, that sort of thing, but it was very much a long-term strategy, I guess, to recognise that I felt the time was right at that stage to move on, both privately for myself, but also for the program. And I think with Gary Willis coming on board, as a national coach, he's going to do a tremendous job. And I think it's advantageous for the players, for the player roster, to have someone fresh, to have some new ideas as well, and otherwise motivate them in other ways that perhaps I didn't or couldn't, or just a different skill set, I guess, as well. So I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, and I guess it hasn't really probably impacted me totally yet, and that will happen, I guess, when I finally see an Australian side out there playing in an event, because that's the times that you really miss, when you're not there with the team. And of course, of COVID, we haven't had that yet, but no. I'm certainly very much looking forward to when the Australian team can get out there and compete again against our international colleagues, and I'll be supporting them wholeheartedly. But I know deep way down inside, there'll be obviously that loss of involvement, and I'll certainly miss them and understand what's going on behind the scenes in order to prepare them to be their best. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely that side of things, but look, at new opportunities come along as well, which I'm really enjoying. So it sort of one negates the other, I guess. Tell us a bit about that. Look, it's very exciting. I think I'm only there for comedy value at the moment with BCIB Insurance Brokers. So the largest contributor bowls Australia-wide, okay. Risk management for, over 850 clubs Australia-wide. It's been a tough year for them as well. Yeah, absolutely. With a lot of catastrophes impacting the insurance industry. And we're all suffering from that. We're all paying for that in our insurance premiums, and no more so than the clubs themselves. So it's been a bit of a baptism of fire, but it's quite exciting. It's great to still be heavily involved in the sport, which I love, and I want to continue being involved in the sport, and hopefully with the team that I've got around me here, much like the Jackaroos, it's a really good team that we push through and try and do the best for our clubs and the best for the sport in the future, both financially and economically, and also just personally for clubs as well. So it's a great challenge and one I'm really enjoying. Yeah, I think at some stage in our life we all need a little change of pace. But in saying that, it's an adjustment. I mean, you were used to, certainly travelling. So many great accolades, Steve, throughout your tenure. You no doubt had a chance in the last few months to reflect. I mean, what's been the highlight, or maybe the first couple of things that spring to mind when you think back on your coaching career? Oh, thank you. I think those accolades are very generous of people. I mean, I reiterate what's been said a few times, that I was sort of only one member of a very good team in the most part. So, it's having those right people around you. I think it's really important. It's something that's been instilled in me over the years, to get the best people around you. And, we certainly had that with the Jackaroos, and, I hope to see that continue. So I think accolades-wise, we can look at medals and successes and things like that. That's the easy part. But I think it's getting buy-in from people, and obviously, coming on board where the program was still very much in its infancy, which it's still building, and it will continue to build. But to bring in the inclusiveness of gender, of age, of ability or disability, I think that was one of the greatest thrills I got out of it, and having that enhanced culture. And you never really get there with culture. I'm a big believer in that, but certainly I believe the culture was enhanced, and the team charged with running the program now will continue to evolve that, and I think that's really exciting. So they're probably the inclusiveness and the culture are probably two things that I look back very fondly on. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, you talked about being involved with the Bowling Club Insurance Brokers, but I should have mentioned at the same time you are still doing a little bit of coaching. Is that in the Bowls Premier League? I don't know if my team, the BCIB Sydney Lions, would call it coaching. They're a hard crew, those crews. So, right. It's probably UK soccer style management, okay. Of the team, trying to keep them focused. And look, they're a really good team to work with. BPL is a wonderful event for the sport. Yep. It's probably a little bit different coaching a BPL team to, say, the Australian team. So, I really enjoy that. I really enjoy seeing the game on TV, and, it's certainly a product of the sport as well, BPL. So, I really enjoy that, but it's a little bit unique in its in the method that it's run in. So, yeah, look, I'm hoping November goes ahead. I'm hoping borders open we can, get up there to Pine Rivers and relive it all.
Great viewing, no doubt, the Bowls Premier League, the TV exposure, fantastic. And as I wrap up with you, I mean, since the return of bowls to the national stage, Steve, which bowlers have impressed you the most over the past few months?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I think the AO, which has been one of few events, and I'd like to even just give special kudos to our national events manager, Andrew Howie, in managing all these events, having to postpone, delay, reorganise, rejig. He's done a magnificent job. But I think a couple of standouts, it was great to see the likes of Christina, Christy, Ellen Ryan and Jamie Lee Warsnott really sort of have a great AO. Brianna Smith's another one, of course, that had a really good AO in the ladies. And interestingly, talking to Gary Willis and Karen Murphy in their roles now, they were quite excited about that too, and the fact that they see the depth of the women's game deepening, I guess, which is really good. And of course, Cody Packer from WA had a fantastic AO over there from coming from the west. So, and then you've got your incumbents, I guess. There's still the likes of Aaron Tees, Aaron Wilsons, these sort of guys, Brilliant. Corey Wedlock, sort of doing really well, and then a little Queensland contingent, Jake Nelson, Nikki Cahill, Carl, and the Nelson boys, they're doing extremely well up there as well. So there's plenty on the horizon. So I guess the story is stay tuned.
Absolutely. Steve, always great to catch up. All the very best as we get through lockdown, and we'll see what the rest of the year holds for all of us. But great to chat.
And thank you very much, and a pleasure to be on the show. Well done, you guys. Thanks.
Steve Glasson, Jackaroos legend and also national coach. And our right-at-home bowler of the week, congratulations to former Bowls Australia President Darryl Clout, who last night was elected as the new World Bowls President. Well done to you, Darryl. And local legends wanted. A Bowls Green is just up the road. Search Bowls Clubs near me and Apia, dedicated specialists ready to help. Just give them a call, 13 50 50. Apia, get set, go. That was another edition of Without Bias, all thanks to Apia, proudly supporting Bowls Australia and local legends wanted. Search Bowls Clubs near me. Another edition coming up next week right here on SEN.